This is a demonstration of how you're going to be making your coiled pot. I'm going to be starting with a block of clay, and what we're going to be doing is squeezing it into a snowball. I'm packing it in like I would a snowball, making it a round shape, just squeezing it with my hands. The clay is placed on a piece of burlap where you're going to smush it with two hands and make it into a quarter-pounder shape. The clay is then rolled out with a rolling pin. Try to stay on top of the clay. You can rotate the burlap and roll it in the other direction. You can lift it up off of the burlap, put it back down again to make it move more freely. Continue to roll and turn your clay, keeping it on the burlap. Peel the clay off of the burlap, and it should be about like a pancake. You're going to take the lid and press it into the clay, just like a cookie cutter. Hold the lid and peel the clay. If it doesn't peel easily, you can use a cutting tool to cut around the round shape. Lift the clay and the lid and pop out the clay. And if it doesn't come out, you can use the clay cutter to help it along. You're going to put it onto a tray with the burlap pattern side down, and you're ready to add your coils. It's important to score, which is making little lines or roughing up the clay. This helps the clay adhere to itself so that when it dries it won't pull apart. So that's scoring. Then you're going to use a little bit of water on your finger to add what we call a slip, and that makes kind of a muddy concoction on the surface of the clay. You're going to take your remaining clay and get more if you need it and squeeze it into kind of like a barrel shape, like this. And you're going to roll that on the table with two hands to turn it into a coil. You want the coil to be the same width. You want it to be as long as possible, but not too long so that you can't handle it. You can see I'm spreading my hands out as I roll it along. If it starts to get a little bit flat, you can just squeeze it, pinch it into shape, and continue to roll it. It should be about the size of your pinky. The ends of the clay should be tapered down so you don't have big lumps when you coil the clay on top of itself. Take the coil and place it on the edge of the clay. See how the end is tapered? You're going to press it into your base right at the edge. Now, as you start to go on top of the coil, you're going to score it and add more water to create the slip, and continue to put your coil on top of the previous row. Press a little firmly, but not too hard. To add the next coil, I've scored and I put water on the row before, and then I'm taking the new piece of coil and I'm adding it on. The two tapered edges are together, and I'm just going to continue to add coils to my pot, scoring each time I go to a new area and adding, slip. add your final coil and measure. The height of the pot should be between 2.5 and 3 inches. You want to make sure your walls are nice and straight, and you can taper the end of your last coil. You may choose to leave it like this. If you have time, you should try to add a rim. Okay, you're going to score the top of your pot if you're going to add a rim, and add some water. And then you're going to take one more coil that you've made that's shorter than the rest, and you're going to put them on the top. Overlap the coil on itself. You're going to take a clay cutter, and you're going to cut through the top down to the next part of that same coil and remove it. You're going to score the ends, add a little water, and press them together so they're nice and smooth. And you can't really see the transition too well. Once you have your top finished, you're going to be smoothing the inside. With that, we're going to be using a spoon, and you're going to put your finger inside the bowl of the spoon, cup your hand on the outside of your clay pot, and put the spoon inside against the wall. You're going to rub it on the wall and down where the first coil meets the base, and just turn it. Continue to do that all the way around the inside of your pot. If it's a little dry, you can even add a little water to make it move more smoothly. Continue to turn and rub the inside of your pot with the spoon. This will ensure that the coils will stay together after the pot dries, because when the moisture evaporates from the clay, sometimes the coils will separate. Make sure you're pressing with equal pressure on the inside and the outside. You don't want to push the spoon through the wall of your pot. And then you can just take your hands and reform the shape if it's a little bit uneven. Using the pointed stick, you're going to use the pointed end to write your name, table, and teacher to the inside of your pot. When all this is done, you can carefully and gently remove your pot from your foam tray. Put it back on the tray and carry it on the tray to the location for your teacher's class to dry on the rack.